Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, your movie apprentice, and today I am looking at Blue Beetle, directed by Manuel Soto and starring Xolo Mariduena. This is a new DC film, bringing us our first Mexican superhero brought to the big screen, and this film had the unfortunate task of coming out in cinemas during the peak of the Barbie and Oppenheimer season. And with the trailers being very mid to a lot of people, people almost kind of forgot this film was coming out thanks to the Barbenheimer craze. So there was a lot of expectation that this film might be a little lackluster and disappointing, or just be another generic movie that falls by the wayside. And before I get into my review, I will say as well that whilst I'll try my best to do the pronunciations right on the actors' names, because I do want to shout out a few of them, I do apologize if I do get anything wrong. I will say that straight away up front. This follows Jamie Reyes, who is trying to get a job for him and his family after spending all that time in university. Like many of us, ends up in a bit of a crappy job. But after going to get a job off of Jenny Cord, the heir to this company, she gives him a box that contains the Blue Beetle that when he picks it up, it activates and goes inside him, making him the chosen one for this Blue Beetle moniker. Before I get into my review, you like what you're seeing on the channel? Drop a like, subscribe, comment your favourite DC movie thus far, and please, let's not argue about Restore the Snyderverse or anything, because it's honestly gotten really old in 2023. Now, this film does have the potential to fall into a lot of origin story pitfalls. There is a lot of dialogue in this that feels very generic, straight down to catchphrases where you know exactly what they're going to say a good 10 seconds before it happens. There are some plot elements that aren't fully fleshed out, or elements that I would like to have seen a bit more fleshed out. There's a dynamic between Jamie and Kajida, the voice of the Blue Beetle suit, voiced by Becky G, who some might know as Trini from that Power Rangers movie that deserved a sequel, but getting sidetracked there. There's a dynamic between those two where the suit wants to eliminate people by any means necessary, yet Jamie does not want to do that. And that role gets flipped towards the later half of the movie. And for me, I'm going to have to say that there's not enough scenes of Jamie interacting with the Beetle that is inside of him. So when it comes to emotional payoff for him and the suit merging as one, it doesn't feel as impactful as it probably should have. I will say though, the Reyes family are what really carries this film for me. They are all extremely likable. Standouts have to be George Lopez, who plays the uncle, and he's very much a conspiracy theory uncle. He is listing off things about tracking. He's the one that says Batman's a fascist in the trailer. His character works really well, and he's just this really fun uncle that is paranoid, but he's self-aware enough to know that a lot of people could see him as a hindrance, but he holds a high standard to himself and to his brother, and the dynamic and scenes he shares with Jamie is really well done. Belisa Escobedo plays his sister, and she is full of the funny moments in this movie. Like, the way she will cut down her brother just like that is hilarious. She is charming, she is charismatic, and she's one of my favorite characters to see on screen. I was honestly saddened every time she was not on screen. She is just a joy to watch in this. Damian Alcazar is the father of Jamie in this, and he does a good job. I do feel like he's given a bit more of the generic tropes when it comes to the dialogue and story structure in this movie. So whilst I do like the dynamic between him and Xolo in their exchanges with each other when it comes to the father-son bond and where that goes, it doesn't hit emotionally for me just because of how very bland the story and script felt at times. Other shout-outs on this, Adriana Barraza is a fun character that will surprise you in a number of ways. You'll be very surprised, but I'm not going to spoil that in this review today. And Bruna Marquezine plays the love interest slash daughter of the original owner of this company, and She does a good job. She's not just there to be a love interest. She's very much an independent character. I don't think the way her and Jamie's relationship develops feels 100% natural, but it's definitely better than a few other romances we have seen in previous superhero movies. When it comes to the action set pieces, I will say these are really good action set pieces. There are some great effects in this, and Blue Beetle does what a lot of other DC movies have failed to do, and that is just to tell a cohesive story that is edited and paced really nicely. Whilst there are a lot of shortcomings for me when it comes to the script and the story, the pacing and editing of this works really well. I am never confused as to where anyone is at any given moment. The flow of the film feels natural in its pacing. I just feel like there should have been a bit more substance in certain areas. The overall pacing is really good. And I will say the final fight is probably one of the stronger fights we have seen in quite a while. It harkens back to classic Raimi Spider-Man. And you can even make comparisons to the No Way Home fight between Peter and the Green Goblin. There are some similarities definitely to be made there, right down to the classic Spider-Man suit is falling up and you're seeing his face a little bit. Very similar to this, where the Blue Beetle suit, spoiler alert, gets a little bit banged up in that final fight, just showing the wear and tear of this fight. Susan Sarandon plays our villain, and she's generic, unfortunately. It's a very generic villain, just I want power. There's another element to her character that is touched upon but never fully explored, which could have made her stand up above other villains in the superhero movies. But I will say she was very much outshone by the secondary villain, as that villain felt more of a threat in this. But like I say, it's really the Reyes family and the action that really helps carry this film, and there are many shortcomings of this. This isn't the greatest origin story ever made, but the fact that it seems that people expected this film to bomb and the only goodwill to come from the demographic that this family is representing, whilst it definitely does do that, I felt this film definitely does more than it needed to, and it really tried to stand out on its own. It's not the best origin story ever when it comes to superheroes, but it's nowhere near the worst. But anyway, it doesn't matter what I think. There is a demographic of people that are seeing themselves on screen for the first time in this, and to those of you out there that feel connected to this character, then cherish this moment, and hopefully this is the start of a lot more to come. But before I get into my grade, if you like what you're seeing on the channel so far, click the like button, subscribe for more video content like this coming all the time. Without further ado, let's get into this grade. Blue Beetle, like I said, not the greatest origin superhero movie ever. It has a lot of flaws, especially when it comes to some generic plot points. The script has some generic catchphrases that you'll see in a lot of superhero movies. The story overall could do with adding a bit more meat to some elements and cutting out some other bits. But the pacing was nice, the editing was cohesive. The Reyes family are what really elevates this script beyond the basicness of what it is originally. And it's just a fun movie to watch. It's definitely one of the stronger DC properties we have seen. Nowhere near the greatest. It's not the Suicide Squad or the Batman, but it definitely does what it needs to do. And from what I've heard, he is going to keep on in the James Gunn's DCU. So hopefully we'll see more of this family and see a lot more greatness to come from it. I'm going to have to say that for me, Blue Beetle is a tea that needs more sugar. So Blue Beetle, have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. What other obscure superheroes from the DC archives would you like to see brought to the big screen? I am curious to hear your thoughts. But until next time, everybody, my name is Josh. I have been Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.